Many debate who is the UFC's most dominant fighter. But what if I told you that person might be a woman? Women's bantamweight and featherweight champion Amanda Nunes certainly has a seat at that table. Since 2014, Nunez has been on an absolute tear, racking up 10 straight victories. In fact, you'd be hard-pressed to find any significant female record in the UFC that she doesn't lay claim to. She's retired legends in devastating fashion. She holds wins over 6 current or former UFC champions, including one against Chris Cyborg in under a minute that defied belief. Saturday night, she has a new challenge as she'll take on Felicia Spencer and defend her featherweight throne for the first time. The Lioness won't be around forever, as she's certainly closer to the end than the beginning. And something tells me that after she's done, many will wonder why they didn't appreciate Amanda Nunes more in the moment.
All right, it is UFC 250, and they are making history as you take a look at the fight card there for tomorrow night. It is UFC's 250th main event, so they are setting this milestone amid the coronavirus pandemic. So let's talk about tomorrow night. Let's bring in the champ Rashad Evans and the host of the State of Combat podcast, Brian Campbell. Rashad, I apologize for Brian not introducing you, as I now know from the podcast that he gives you the best introductions. But I am going to start with you as somebody who owns a couple of those title fights that led to this point for UFC. So what does it mean for you and for UFC to hit this milestone, and how much the sport has grown?
It means a lot, and it shines a great light on the sport and shows the professionalism and how they're able to handle such a terrible situation as COVID-19. Being able to be the first one back and be able to set the standards of the rest of the professional sports are going to follow. It means a lot, and it shows that the UFC, they're definitely on the edge of making sure they stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, and this many years into the sport, look, you can't say mixed martial arts without saying the UFC, and getting to 250 while just a numbered system in terms of major cards. It certainly tells a lot of how far this sport has come, and Dana White and company's initial vision to try to make this one of the big 4 sports. I think you've seen throughout this quarantine, love him or hate him, Dana's been ahead of the game in terms of trying to put the sport first, trying to get it back going. And now, as we see, all of the other sports are following suit.
Yeah, Brian, he absolutely did that. He said we're going to be first back, and sure enough, they were. I want to ask you this regarding the future of UFC. Where do you see it growing from here? How big do you think it's going to get? They have the new Apex facility there in Vegas. What is the future, you think, for UFC?
Certainly international. That is always the standpoint from Dana White, the UFC president. Let's not forget that just a year ago, UFC spent the money and went out to China and built their second state-of-the-art performance institute. They have one in Las Vegas right next to their offices across the street from the Apex facility. But building in China is really the key for UFC's future. You've seen in just short time some impressive fighters make the leap, including Weili Zhang, who's currently the women's strawweight champion. That, it seems to be in Asia where UFC's biggest potential growth lies.
All right, let's specifically talk about tomorrow. Brian, on your pod, you said it's bantamweight night and you feel all right about it. So let's dive into some of those, starting with Cody Gar Brand versus Rafael Son Sal. This is really interesting. It is almost a 10-year age difference here, with Gar Brand at 28, Son Sal at 37. But you actually think there's a chance the younger of the two could possibly be damaged goods, and Son Sal isn't over his own hill yet?
That's the theme coming in right now. Where is Cody Gar Brand in terms of his career arc? Yes, only 28 years old, only a few years removed from being the bantamweight champion, from being one of the rising potential stars in this entire sport. Well, what's happened since? 3 defeats, all by knockout, and particularly the last 2. He was seemingly lured into brawls, leaving his technique behind, and you saw really the de-evolution of a great fighter. What you have to love about this comeback for him is he's been very quiet. He's switched training camps. He's got a big task ahead of him, though. There's no stay busy fights in UFC. There's no get well fights. This is a 37-year-old Rafael Son Sal who only traditionally loses to the very elite and as tough as it comes inside this bantamweight division. If Cody Gar Brand isn't back, both mentally and physically, where he needs to be, Rafael Son Sal, fresh off a 2-fight losing skid of his own, is the wrong kind of opponent.
Rashad, I want to follow with you. I know you have a connection to Cody Gar Brand through Mark Henry here. So how do you think he's going to fare coming up tomorrow?
I think he's going to fare pretty good, and I think that the fact that he's been off for some time gives him a chance to kind of get immersed in that Mark Henry system. Mark Henry has a very complex system where it's a lot of codes and a lot of communication of that level. So it takes a little bit to understand his way of coaching and understand the codes and stuff like that. He's also working with Ricardo Almeida on the ground as well too, trying to implement more of a ground game, more of a ground and pound style to to go along with his heavy striking and heavy fists. Listen, Cody Gar Brand can hit, he can strike. We know he has knockout power. The problem is we've seen him come up short is because he hasn't been able to get himself off the line. He likes the danger too much. He likes to exchange in that 50-50 area. But when you exchange in that 50-50 area, I can hit you and you can hit me. And it's only the luck of the dice if you don't get knocked out first. So now he's working with Mark Henry. He's moving off the line a little bit more, and he's able to get at the angles to land those powerful shots.
All right, let's move to the much closer match, I should say, Hagen versus Stirling. This one is basically a pick-em. Rashad, I'm going to start with you. We have Stirling, who came off that wrist surgery, but also a 4-fight win streak. Hagen has been called a dark horse in this particular match. How do you think this one's going to play out?
Man, this one is close as it gets. You know, both these guys really want it, and they're both driven. You know, listening to Aljamain Sterling talk, he just has the mindset and the way he's talking and his skill set. It seems like it's a perfect combination, everything coming together at the right time. It's a perfect storm for Aljamain when it comes to just where he's at on a career level. But Hagen is on another level. When you're looking at an athlete who has the nice size, he does everything well from, you know, the movement inside the cage, moving different stances, attacking at different angles, on the ground. He just does everything well. This is going to be a very close fight, but I got to give the edge of Corey here, Hagen.
I agree with Rashad in terms of the edge. What is hard, though, is how great of a fight and how close this is. Look, this 3-round bout could have just as easily been 5 rounds for the vacant title. UFC instead chose to go the direction of Peter Yan and Jose Aldo later this year. But what you have on here are 2 fighters who are really ready to make that leap and make their name and have a real opportunity in almost a de facto #1 contender fight. I love Hagen as the potential dark horse of this division. Great size, unique style, loves to do things a little bit differently from that southpaw stance. This is his opportunity to make that statement against an Aljo Stirling, who's really been sitting around recovering from injury, waiting to get his close-up. Make no mistake, this is the best fight on the card. Please, buckle up. Let me get some popcorn. Let's do this.
We'll get you some popcorn there. That might be the best fight on the card, but let's go to the big one there. Amanda Nunes, Felicia Spencer. Nunes already being called the GOAT. She is the heavy favorite here. Brian, will a win tomorrow for her cement her status as the greatest of all time?
Oh, it will certainly help if she's not already there in your own personal rankings. Look, a little bit of history at stake for Amanda. Could become the first female 2-division champion to defend titles in both divisions. Would join Henry Cejudo and Daniel Cormier in that elite club overall. The thing I'm a little bit nervous about is this. The betting odds have Amanda Nunes as an overwhelming favorite and don't seem to accurately portray how tough of a matchup Felicia Spencer could potentially be. Let's just keep this in mind. Amanda Nunes has not fought consistently as a featherweight since 2011. She had just 1 fight at 145 in the UFC. That was 17 months ago when she knocked out Chris Cyborg in the first round of an all-action war. What happens with the extra weight against a very big and strong featherweight in Felicia Spencer if this fight starts going rounds? Yes, Nunez is the GOAT for a reason. Make no mistake, she should be favored. But if there's ever a time to fight the GOAT, it might be now. Different kind of training camp with this quarantine. Amanda Nunes and her partner Nina Ansaroff have their first baby on the way. She's coming off an ankle injury. This is the time, if you're going to make a run at a live dog, to look a little bit closer at Felicia Spencer.
Rashad, do you agree with Brian? Is this a time for somebody to make a run at Amanda Nunes?
I think so. You know, I think the uncertainty of this whole situation, everything that surrounds this event, it's uncharted territories for everybody. And when it comes down to competing, that's what it's all about. Who can feel the most comfortable inside the octagon when the cage door closes? And no one knows who that person is going to be, because it's weird to fight without any people in the arena. I fought on the Ultimate Fighter show, and it was weird at first, you know. So it all depends on who's going to adjust to that faster. But I mean, Amanda Nunes has a great opportunity to be the first double champ to be able to defend one of those titles. So this could be history in the making here. But I mean, Spencer, for the most part, you know, she has the world to win on her side, and not a lot of pressure because a lot of people are counting her out. But she has a dominance on the ground that can really bring some trouble to Amanda Nunes if she gets taken down. And we've seen Amanda Nunes on the ground before. So if she gets taken down to the ground, Felicia Spencer can be a really, really tough out for her, and it can change the complexion of the fight once they go back up to their feet.
Rashad Evans, we appreciate your insight. Brian Campbell, thank you for all your information. It's going to be fun tomorrow night as we watch UFC 250. And you can hear much more from both of these gentlemen on the State of Combat podcast there. Yes, they do break down UFC 250, but also the latest pod featuring The Undertaker, the guy who gave me nightmares as a child, why he chose to open up after 30-plus years in wrestling. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.